bumping away and stealing for all to see. El Cachorro, El Cachorro. Your daughter superheroes is today for you and me. El Cachorro, El Cachorro.
Welcome back, Detroits, as we continue our Quintessential Quintuplets El Cachorro versus Anime Breakdown, as we're now going to do the second half of Season 1, and see, hopefully we get to this one a little faster. Like I said, this show really gets to me. I have a lot, so we do have a lot to talk about. So yes, this part is 100% spoilers. If you want to read my thoughts on the anime, watch the first part of the last video. Alright, so switch over. So once again, in case for an update, the show revolves around our main character Futaro here, as he's tutoring 5 quintuplets: Yotsuba, Ichika, Nino, Miku, and Itsuki. They're all pretty dumb in failing their schoolwork, in danger of failing. So his job is to make sure they graduate, or he gets fired if they fail. Well, to survive the midterm firing by them deceiving their father a little bit, because each one of them passed a single subject. Starts off slow. The first one that joined him, so Yotsuba agreed to study instantly. Miku was the second one that jumps on board. Ichika also got on board third. She was kind of studying on her own, being kind of steadfast about wanting to work together with him, but she's finally slowly warmed up to him. And she tries to hold off, but she kind of will still join anyways. And as we know, one of them becomes his wife at the end. So we left off with him doing a sleepover, because they're doing a cram. Miku gave him her bedroom, and she was supposed to bunk with Ichika. She uses the bathroom in the middle of the night and sleepwalks back to her own room, and ends up spending the night in bed with Futaro. So he wakes up and finds a beautiful woman in his bed. Takes him a minute because at some points he's really good at figuring out. At some points he's struggling, but there's a lot of points where he can't tell them apart. He recognizes from her pajamas that it is Miku. And get everybody. There's the little Miku gif there. So we find out the other girls are awake, and they're questioning that Miku wasn't. Ichigo's like, Miku got up early and she's not around, so she must have left, and they're suspecting that she went to the library. And mentioning that Futaro's still asleep. And Ichika's trying to win Itsuki over to he's like, study with us, it's fun, you should just join us. And Itsuki's still questionable about Futaro and her stubbornness about how they got along. And she goes, I can't be like you or Miku. And she goes, well, yeah, you can. So both her and Ninu kind of redo Itsuki's hair to make her look like Miku, and they say, I bet you can fool him. So she kind of goes upstairs, and he's trying to sneak out of the room without Miku waking up, or he might find out that Miku's in the room with him. As he opens the door, he runs right into her, and at first he's like, wait, Miku. But that can't be Miku. And then he tells from looking at her pajamas, he realizes it's Itsuki. And she starts to kind of like apologize to him, but then he kind of like hears Miku like flip over in the bed, so he kind of like ends the conversation, closes the door, and gets her all mad at him again before he comes back out and then joins them for breakfast and says, yeah, she probably went to the library. Yeah, we should all go to the library and study. So obviously they go there. She's nowhere to be found. and he's still kind of obsessed with the fact that he's got him ultimatum. They got to pass or he's gonna get fired. So he's worried about Itsuki, and he asks Yotsuba at one point, he's like, well, if one of you fails, what about the rest of you? And Yotsuba's like, well, I would stay behind and do the year again with her. Which is going to be a thing that we're going to find out. That's actually going to be a big thing that we're going to find out about later as well. Footnote on that one. So now he's worried. So Ichika realizes it. She's the big sister, kind of really, always trying to put things together. So she comes up with a reason for him to go back to the apartment to get something for her. Knowing he picks up that he gets it. She's giving him an out to go talk to Itsuki. As he's getting there, he runs into Miku, who's on her way to join him at the library, and Miku kind of questions him about the night before, and Futaro makes up a lie saying that he couldn't sleep in the bed, so he went and slept on the living room floor to cover up that, so she didn't realize that, she spent the night with him. He then goes in and finds Itsuki falling asleep at the table studying with Miku's headphones on. He wakes her up and he does this thing where he pretends she's Miku because he realizes that's what she was trying to do earlier now. So he kind of starts grilling on her like she's Miku, so she doesn't have to feel like she's, studying with him as herself. So she kind of picks up on it. She starts going along with it. He kind of lets out an apology for the other day. She also apologizes, and then they kind of oh, I don't know. And then they played it off like, oh, we don't know. What are you talking about, Miku? Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. But they kind of, apologize to each other for their stubbornness in their fight, and she lets them tutor her. Meanwhile, Nino's above watching, like the evil wench that she is, because that's what Nino does. So then they have one more job. He has a dream that they all get perfect scores. He spends the night in crabs again, and they wake up realizing they overslept, and now they got to rush to school. They're going to be late for the exam. And then we get some little hijinks of each one trying, show another characteristics in the morning. Like Ichika wants to stop and get. Of course, Yotsuba's the athletic one. She takes off on. Miku helps an old lady across the street. Itsuki wants to get something to eat. Ichika wants to. I can't remember what she did. Was she trying to get? Did she try to get coffee? Unfortunately, they didn't have their dad to give them a ride. Their dad's driver wasn't around. She's falling asleep. So they arrive at school, they're like 3 minutes late, and there's a guard at the door waiting for truancy people. So they get the idea that Yotsuba made it in time because she's super athletic. So they decide to play our quintuplet switcheroo. Each one of them puts a ribbon in their hair so they look like Yotsuba, and they pretend to be Yotsuba. And like, you already seen me. I already came in. Remember the ribbon? I just had to step back out. Oh, I had to step back out again. So they all the girls get by. The guard falls for it, but then Futaro tries it and it doesn't go so well. He gets caught. But then the girls take their exams and we see them, and they all kind of have questions. Nina has a question that pops up that she remember hearing Futaro give the answer for. We all saying they're trying hard. We find out that Itsuki has confronted her dad about and knows that what's on the line. That she as well, her and Nino both know that Futaro's job's on the line. So she's trying her best too because she's doing it for Reina. She don't want Reina, because she knows the Futaro needs a job to take care of his sister. So they meet on the results day, and the girls are all kind of standoffish about not wanting to show them the results. And Tori says, "Okay, I'm ready. Just show me." And we find out they all only passed one subject each. Miku being has the best. She did like a 68 in history, so she had like the highest overall score. Yotsuba did good in Japanese. Itsuki in science. Ichika, what was it? I can't remember. Ichika did math. Nino's high grade was in English, which I didn't realize until I was like preparing for this video. And it's good. That's really funny because when we get to the one of the specials, there's a big thing about saying that she struggles with English. So like, oopsie, I think they forgot about this. They made that her best subject that she passes in this one because she's like unable to communicate with some people in English. So I thought that's kind of funny that, oopsie, they made a boo boo in the special. So Futuro realizes what's online. He goes through each girl and like he tells Miku that she needs to share her knowledge and help her sisters. Tells Yotsuba to stop, being careless. Tells Ichika that she just needs to take more time and focus on her answers. Itzy that she just needs to, stop overthinking and because she didn't finish the test, didn't answer all the questions. And pretty much tells Nina to apply herself more. So he's giving this weird speech in case for the help other he won't be around. And the other girls are kind of like, wait, Miku's starting to freak out. Like, wait, what are you saying? To which Itsuki's like, let him finish. So as he gets done, their dad calls. And she hands him the phone. He starts to like say, hey, you need to find him another tutor. And then Nino grabs the phone. Goes off on her dad for making this proposition on him and said it's not fair, that it's not giving him enough time and it's too soon to know if he's a good fit for them or not. And she comes up with a little white lie saying that all 5 of them did not fail all 5 subjects. So pretty much saying because each one passed a different subject, so altogether they passed every subject. One of them passed every. So a little white lie to protect Futuro's job. So we see that Nina's hard-edged on him, but she's coming around on him a little bit. She realizes that he's helping them, and she wants to help keep him around for him. So then they talk about about reviewing the test answers and stuff. Where he says, "Well, we should do that, but first, I promised you a reward." And he agrees to take them all out for parfaits, but only 1 scoop each because he's cheap. So the girls are all kind of surprised by him being so rewarding. So our next episode is where we kind of get some backstory. So we open up with Futuro with his family, and his dad's giving him a hard time about. That means one of the videos reset. His dad's giving him a hard time about studying at the table, and he kind of pushes back on it. And he goes, he's like, you weren't all. He wasn't always like telling the little sister that he wasn't always like this. He used to be a little bit of a bad child, and he has a photo he keeps on him of him when he was little. And so he grabs this Futuro's little handbook, and he shows Reina the picture that we don't get to see it yet. But saying this is about the time you met that girl. And that's what changed everything. Pretty much saying that he met a girl, the girl changed it, and Reina's like, that was your first love, and he's trying to push it up. No, it's not like that. We kind of get a little glimpse of a pink-haired girl. But then the scene switches to he's showing up to go study. Miku's trying to make some croquettes. And she gets Futuro and Yotsuba to try them. And Futuro likes it. Yotsuba says they're terrible. Which sets Miku down a path of that she's going to keep trying until she can make them right. So she keeps making them eat them until Futuro gets sick from eating too much. which causes Miku to go out to get him some medicine for her stomach. Meanwhile, Itsuki and Ninu come in, find him sick, and they got whatever, and they're going to go take off. And he before we have a chat. Or first off, before that happens, sorry, he has a talk with Yotsuba about that she needs to learn how to, that all you had to do was lie. And she goes, well, she would. I can't lie. She would see right through. It's like it's why you just say things like, I like the flavor then. So Yotsuba's like learning how to give slight compliments that not hurt people's feelings. Then Itsuki and Nino are getting ready to take off and avoid studying, so he enlists Yotsuba, like, get them to stay, they need to study. It's like, lie to them. So Yotsuba says that Fudoro is gravely ill. So like, well, should we send him to the hospital? It's like, no, if he moves, he'll die. So they're just like, oh my god, she's a terrible liar. But now he's stuck going with it, so as they're not believing him, he kind of puts there's some ketchup bottle nearby, so he puts some ketchup on his hand. Not sure why there was I guess they were using ketchup with the food he was eating. So he coughs and acts like, oh, I moved a little, now there's blood in my hand, I almost died. So it causes both girls to freak out. So one goes to take care of him, and they get Nina to make him some porridge. And then Yotsuba asks Nina to make him some porridge to help him out. When she's like, dude, and he's thinking I'm sick because I overate, and you're getting her to make me more food. So in the biz, Yotsuba also has this moment where she begs Itsuki to come and study with him, and sounds fun, and it's really realized, like, you know what? I think I used Yotsuba wrong. That having a lie. Then Nina slips on the ketchup bottle and drops the porridge on him, causing him to jump up and start smacking it off because it's burning him. And the girls realize they were fooled. And it's just him and Yotsuba, and he comments about how they're back to square one. Just them two again, and then Yotsuba tells him how all the girls have been changing because how he's brought change in all of them except for her. And he points out, like, you were the first one that changed. You're the first one that accepted me. To which she leans over him, and she goes, well, that's because I like you. Freaking him out, and they hold the pose, and then she goes, just kidding, see, I can lie when I want to. Causing his heart to grow colder. So we find out that the school camp trip's coming up, and so Yotsuba goes to meets up with them in the library, and Fudoro has this wig and this evil clown mask he puts on that scares her. He takes it off. She gets relieved. He puts it on, and she gets scared again. A little silly little comedy spot there. We find out he's in charge of the test of courage because he wasn't paying attention in class when he was too busy studying when they brought it up, so it got dumped on him. So he's going to get back by scaring the hell out of everybody. The Yotsuba first tells him and Miku about the legend of the campfire, where if you're holding hands and dancing with someone at the end of the night, that is a sign that you're going to be together forever. So then Ichika shows up, and she says she can't study. She has a audition or something like that. And she goes, I've been thinking, I would have messaged you about this. So I was like, here, let's exchange our email addresses so we can be in contact. So he gets her email address. And then we find out that Yotsuba's getting distracted with other projects, like making 1,000 cranes, passing out flyers. And Futuro are starting to think, is she doing this on purpose? They're thinking that maybe there's an evil Yotsuba and she's doing all this on purpose to get out of studying. Meanwhile, he gets an email instantly from Ichika as she's leaving that says, you need to get everybody's email address or I'll show them this photo. And she took a photo of him sleeping with his head on her lap. So he instantly gets Miku's, no problem at all. And he's getting ready to get Yotsuba's, and he finds out that Itsuki and Nino are in the cafeteria. So he goes to convince them. They both kind of are saying no at first, but he promised to give Itsuki Reina's email address as well, so that gets her on board. And then when Nino refuses, he's like, "That's fine. We'll just do group chats without you then, and you won't know what we're talking about." Which is what gets Nino on board. So I guess she doesn't have her phone to switch contacts. So he hands her his student handbook to write her email address in. And then he also mentions out, Yotsuba, you still haven't given me yours yet. So he goes to get it from Yotsuba, and she gets a call from the basketball team. And when he questions it, she takes off running. So he thinks she's, once again, trying to find ways to get out of studying. So he takes off to follow her without getting his handbook back. And as he eavesdrops on her, he overhears Yotsuba saying that she'll fill in for him if they need help at the games, but she doesn't want to join the team because she's promised that she's going to work on something else with someone else who believes in her, even though she has no talent, and causing him to kind of realizing that he was wrong about her. And then of course she runs into him because he's just around the corner. And he's, alright, well, let's go study. So at home, he's like going through and checking out, and he realizes he doesn't have Nina's email. And that reminds him that he doesn't have a student handbook. So he starts freaking out over it. So then we see a sleeping Nino and him hovering, and he's hovering over her as she wakes up saying, "Give me my student handbook." So we have a scene where she kind of freaks out, and Miko's like, "I'm the one that let him in, and I told him he could go in and wake you up." So Miko's saying, so she's all mad about it. Ichigo then gives her this little device that you're supposed to use to pierce your ears, I guess, because I guess in Japan they pierce their own ears with this device. It's like a little thing where I guess with a needle where you just squeeze it and pierce. Whatever, sure. Well, I mean, I guess I guess that's kind of what they use if you go get your ears pierced. I would assume. But it's kind of weird that they have this device at home where they just pierce their own ears. Just do it yourself. So she kind of mentions for Futuro to follow her to her room. To which she says that she'll give him back his student handbook if he helps her pierce her ears. Because she's too scared to do it on her own. And Futuro kind of warns her, rubbing his ears, like, it's going to hurt, right? And she's like, what would you know? How would you know that? You wouldn't know. So he kind of starts doing a whole little thing where he's getting ready to do it, and she's got her eyes closed, and he's counting down. He's also reaching down to get the handbook out of her pocket. And as soon as he gets that one, he goes 1-0, because that's what it's going to sound like when I'm actually going to do it. And that causes her knows that she's messing with her, and she kind of kicks him and knocks him down, makes him drop his handbook, which flops open to the picture that Nino gets to see it and doesn't who's this boy, and he doesn't want her to know it's him, so he says it's a relative. And to which she's like, this is from a 5 years younger picture of someone that would have been him 5 years younger. And she's like, this is my type of guy, man. I would need to meet this kind of guy. It's like he's younger than you, Nino, but okay. I guess she's imagining he grew up. And he gets his book back, relieved that she didn't look at the rest of the picture. She can see he has an earring, he had an earring, so that's how he knows. So he's relieved that she didn't about that, and she's like, well, that's fine. I have an old picture of us when we were kids too. Because the picture was folded in half, so when he gets it back, he pulls the picture out and is looking at it. And he's too relieved that he's not paying attention to her picture. She's like, well, I'm going to go show it to my sisters. And that was the picture of them in Kyoto 5 years ago. Oh no, his mystery girl is one of the quintuplets. So, this girl that supposedly changed his life, as we heard at the beginning of the episode, is one of them. So one of them met him 5 years ago. And at this point, neither are aware of the situation. So then we go to the next day, as we're now in the Legend of Fate Day arc, which is a 4-episode arc. So it starts with Yotsubuki and Miko meeting up, and they're talking about how excited they should be for the camp trip. Miko has a question about relationships, where Ichika comes in and gives her a line that's because you love the person so much you can't help it. They're questioning about like the legend. And Ichiro still Futuro is still talking about he's against the relationships. Ichika says she has to go to work and asked Miku to do the normal thing because she has a meeting with her class about the camp, which gets Futuro kind of curious. What are we talking about? So he starts following them, and we see Miko dressed as Ichika. So she goes. So he goes to meet, and she finds out that it's just one student that was luring Ichika there by herself, so he could ask her to dance with him, and make a confession that he likes her. To which she's kind of like not sure what to do and answer. She tries to say, "Well, let me think on it. I'll get back to you." And he starts demanding an answer. And Futuro's like, "Oh, well, you got yourself in this mess," and he's getting ready to take off. When he hears the guy starting to get a little pushier and starts to say, "Wait a minute," starts accusing her of not being Ichika, and that it might be one of her sisters, pretending to be her, which causes Futuro to come to her aid. And at first he tells the guy, "Hey, back off, give her some time to think about it." And the guy kind of gets in, looks like he's getting ready to threaten Futuro, which causes Mikachi to grab Futuro's arm and say, I have already promised I'm going to dance with him at the dance, and that we're dating." And he obviously is questioning it, and he's like, doesn't believe they're an actual couple, which causes Miko to like start, acting out urges since she's not actually being herself. So she's grabs Futuro's hand and starts holding his hand and says, "We do this all the time," and they're being very clingy. So the guy finally starts believing in it, but before he leaves, Miko asks him the question of, he says, I'm sorry to ask this at this time, but what made you want to confess to the person you like? The guy finds the question kind of weird, but then he comes back and tells her, anyone who does it wants that person all to themselves. So this is Miku learning more about relationships, and she is we know for a fact she's all got her big crush on Futuro going right now. So she's learning more about relationship angles. Then we find out the girls want to take Futuro shopping to get him some clothes to wear, so he doesn't look like a bum. Yotsuba's look for him was like really childish. Miku wanted to dress him in samurai clothes. Itsuki wanted to do some biker thing. And then Nino's actually coming up with it's just a regular serious preppy kind of look for him. So they finish shopping. He realizes he's getting a bunch of missed calls from his dad because Reina is sick. So he rushes home to take care of his sick sister who has a fever, give her medicine and stuff like that. And he stays by her, and she tells him that, hey, I want your school trip start. You leave for your school trip tomorrow, and I want you to have fun and bring back all these. I want you to come back and tell me all these stories. which she agrees to, and then we go to the next day where his dad has not come home from work yet, so he's not left her side, and it caused him to miss the bus. We also see where one of the teachers comes up to Itsuki and tells her that I need you to take over the test of courage. That's how they find out that he wasn't showing up. So Dad finally busts in and is like, well, you can still hurry. I know you were looking forward to the trip, and he's playing it off like, I didn't care about going. That gives me 3 days of study now anyways. So the dad picks up the book and hands it to him, and you can see where he's got all these markers in the book for stuff that he was wanting to do. Because it's too late, I already missed everything. And lo and boom, there's Itsuki like, no you didn't. It's like, look, I get what your reasons are, but now you're coming with us. So you guys like drags him out of the house and saying, I'm borrowing Usagi. And all the girls are waiting with their car, and they put him in the car, and they're all driving together now. They came and got him. We see now he's excited. They're playing games in the car, and Fudo's breaking character a little bit. He's super excited. But they're stuck in traffic, and there's like a snowstorm, which leads to them all getting stuck, having to spend the first night in an inn that only have one room left, so they're all stuck sharing the same room. All the girls are kind of freaking out about it. Nina's putting all these, with Itsuki, those two are both kind of putting scary thoughts in their heads that he's a guy, and we're sparing the room night with him, with a guy in here with us, and that he might try stuff. But he's just super excited. He wants to play card games. Then we get a scene between Ichika and Miku where because they pretty much, Miku's had to tell her, like, yeah, you're supposed to dance with Fudoro at the campfire, and because I told this guy that you two were doing that. And so Ichika's just making sure, like, are you okay with that? Are you sure that's okay? And she goes, it's all right. And Miku's thinking is like, well, as long as it's Ichika, I don't have nothing to worry about. Oh, does that get complicated? So the girls sneak off to give us a fan service scene with them in a bath, all having talks about freaking out how they're going to sleep with, who's going to sleep next to Fudoro, and what's the sleeping arrangement going to be, and they're worried about it, and who should sleep next to him. So then they all go back in the room with a plan. They're all going to just look the same, so he won't know which one's who. And they find that he's out cold sleeping. And they realize that, yeah, they were overthinking it. That he's not the crazy dude that they think he is. They wake up in the morning, and we see Ichika kind of roll over in her sleep, and she realizes she just rolled right where she's like pretty much on top of Fudoro. And she kind of freaks out for a second, then she realizes, hey, we all slept all over the place. And then she's getting up, she kind of looking down, like, this is the second time I've seen him sleeping. She kind of puts her hand on his chest, having this kind of like thoughts about him, and then Itsuki kind of opens the door, sees one of her sisters hovering over him, closes the door, and starts freaking out that one of her sisters is the one that tried to do something. And now she's very suspicious that she's now kind of worried about her sisters, trying to figure out what kind of person Fudor is. She finds out that the reason the hotel was booked is because the school trip bus had to stop there too for the night because of the weather and the traffic. So they're able to get on the bus. And we kind of see a little interlogue with them on the bus. Minu's kind of being all standoffish. We learn that Ichika's manager, agent person is kind of suggested to her that she quit school, take the year off of school so she can focus on doing the movies and stuff. Itsuki's kind of just worried about what sister was hanging over him, and that she needs to keep an eye on Futuro. And that if a student falls for a teacher, this teacher's job is to put the student back in line. Nina's kind of saying, people ask about Nina if she's dancing. She thinks of the blonde boy from the picture. I went to find a guy like him. Miku's thinking about the legend. Yotsuba is thinking about making the trip perfect for Usagi. So every one of them are lost in thoughts. Just guide them back onto the right path. So then we're now at the campgrounds. We see everybody doing their little prep there. There's cooking and stuff going on, and Futuro has a moment with the guy from earlier who kind of asked for a secret about a relationship. Futuro's like, hey, find a girl, ask her to go to the test of courage, and you get at, and it's gonna making it very scary, and that'll cause her to want to get close to you. And Yotsuba also offers to help him with that. So then we jump to the test of courage night, and Futuro and Yotsuba are working as a pair. They scare off our boy Maeda and the girl he gets to go with. The next group that comes up is Ichika and Miku, and they know the gig, so they don't fall for it. So they have a chat. Well, before they show up, Yotsuba has a little talks to him that she wants to make sure he has no regrets, and she's happy to see the Futuro having fun. She was afraid that she don't. And this will be a common thing we'll hear from her a lot: is that let's not leave any regrets. So Miku kind of sees that Ichika is getting super friendly, chatting with Futuro. He kind of warns them both about that there's follow the signs because there's a cliff. Which, why is there a cliff? Why you just have one path can run you right off a cliff? Is kind of silly. So Miku's lost in thought and pulls Ichika away, and Futuro kind of notices that Miku's being cold. Something seems off with her. Our next group is Ninu and Itsuki, and Itsuki is like scared to death walking through that, and Ninu's kind of being kind of stuff. She's kind of saying this is all kind of BS, BS, BS. At this point, they also told Futuro Yotsuba convinces Futuro to change the way he's scaring people. Instead of jumping out of a bush, now she's gonna have the swing down from above on a tree. From a tree. Itsuki also finds out that Ninu was not the person that she saw hovering over Futuro. But as the girls get scared, Itsuki takes off running. Ninu goes chasing after her. They take the wrong path They didn't follow the sign. They took the wrong path, so they're headed towards the cliff. So, causing Futuro to go after them. Then we see a little go-between between Miku and Itsuki, where they have a little more of a talk about... Miku has more of a talk about... wanting to know what Ichika thinks of Futuro. Trying to get a sense... And then we go back to Ninu, who can't find Itsuka. Her phone is dying. She's freaking out. And as she's about to have a panic attack, she hears a male voice. And she looks up, and it's Futuro, but he's wearing the blonde wig. So, looking at that, she automatically thinks it's his relative. She believes it's the boy from the picture. She's like, well, I knew other schools would be here, and I didn't know his relative was going to be here. To which we get the name of Kintaro. Becomes the made-up character. The first Futuro doesn't realize that it takes a minute for Futuro to not realize that she's not realizing it's not him until he realizes, wait, I have the blonde wig on. Oh, it's she thinks I'm this guy. So he tries to like lead her on. He accidentally rips her dress. She doesn't get mad about it. She stays pretty calm. So he's trying to have the conversation. He doesn't want. He's afraid to confess that who he is because he doesn't want her to know that he is the guy in the picture because he's afraid it might blackmail him. So he tries to tell her which way to go, but she's worried that it needs to find her sister and asks him to like stay with her. Then we see Yotsuba is scaring people by herself and wondering what happened to Futuro since he's left her all alone. They hear some noise, and it causes them both to freak out and get scared and take off running. Oh, first, forgot, there's a bruise. She tries to get real close to view his face, and he's kind of forgot because they don't want to realize it. But he has a bruise, and she puts a special Band-Aid on it. Because she's being all lovey-dovey, and he gives her his... well, he mentions he's got the good luck charm bracelet and they're safe. But then they get scared. They take off running. And then she sees the path. She takes off running that way. And Futuro is realizing that that's the way to the cliff. Goes chasing after her. And saves her life by pulling her back from falling off the cliff. Which causes him to tumble over the cliff. So there's where he says, hey, I got this bracelet. And as he's falling off, she reaches out to grab him, and they grab that bracelet, and she's able to pull him back on top of her, which causes him to have a moment blush. Then she tells him about the legend of the dance, and she asks him to meet her, and do the campfire dance with her. Then they hear the voice again. They hear the sound again, and it turns out it's Itsuki sobbing in the forest. And as they meet together, Futuro sneaks away. So then we're back at the cabin, and he tries to talk to Nino as himself, and she like blows him off, doesn't want to tell him what's going on. She won't talk to him. Runs into Ichika and Miku, and Ichika also blows him off, and then he talks to Nino because he's trying to find Nino because he feels like he needs to confess. So he asks Miku where Nino is, and that pisses her off. And then we find out that Itsuki's spying on him, and she's accuses him of being suspicious. So now he's thinking that all the girls are mad at him. So he goes to help Yotsuba, repay Yotsuba by helping her remove logs for the campfire. And she finds out that she's upset that he left her on, left her all alone to do all the scaring, and he just kind of deserted her. So now he starts realizing that she's also kind of mad at him. So now he's kind of freaking out because all the girls are mad at him, and he's worried that he's losing everything. He goes to get the last log, and Ichika shows up to help him. That's my next picture, actually. So she shows up because she's supposed to be working on this assignment too. So he starts kind of opening up to Ichika. So first he tries to put on a show and act all big and tough, and he's talking in his big overconfident voice, and Ichika calls him out on it. He's like, what are you doing that for? Stop that. Because it sounds weird. So he's like, why are you talking like that? It's weird. So he kind of confronts that he's just upset, worried that everybody kind of hating him. And she kind of has it all talking. I was like, well, you just need to be yourself and you got to talk. And When you're talking to Nina, you gotta act confident and strong. So she has doing different voices in each. She does kind of a voice in each character, each sister, kind of giving the feel for them, see how so he can work on his responses. And she gives him tips on it. And then when she gets to say something about Miku, she kind of freaks out and doesn't know what to say. So they go in. There's one log left. They go to lift it, and he's contemplating because now he has to figure out what he wants to do. Does he code up his deal and dance with Ichika, or does he dress as Kentaro the dress and dance with Ninu and keep that lie alive? So he's conflicted about that. And he brings up the Ichika that's like, do you just want to call it off? Because and he plays it off as like, I know you don't want, there's the legend thing, and I know like you don't, I don't want to be the, ruin your reputation. You'll be seen with me dancing, and that causes her to start crying. And so he starts to freak out. They hear people coming, so they go put the log against the wall, and they're hiding back there so no one will see her crying. And he remembers that she said that, be nice, talk to, and you can be nice be nice to me too. So he takes off his coat and he covers it up so no one can see it, in case the people would come in so they wouldn't see that she's crying. They don't think anyone's there, so they close and lock the doors and lock them in. So they're now trapped in the room. So he's talking about busting up the door, but then they see there's an alarm on the sense that's alarmed, and they say, well, if we trip the alarm, it's gonna ruin the camp for everybody. So he goes to have her get on his shoulder so he can lift her up. And as she puts her legs around him, he's like, wait a minute, this feels familiar from when he slept on her lap. Cause a little humor scene about, hey, don't that. And then he also is unable to lift her up because she's too heavy for him. So it ends up resulting in him trying to make a fire to keep them warm. Well, she keeps trying to engage him in conversations, and he's too focused on making the fire. He doesn't really want to open up and have conversations until she mentions she might quit school. She tells him about how, actors will take a year off of school or go to flexible schooling. And she's expecting him to get very upset about it. Instead, he's happy for her. He goes, it's like, my good chance is going to fail, but hey, maybe you're not. Maybe you'll do well. Because I envy that you have these opportunities and that this might be something you can go do. He does worry about losing his pay, though, but he shocks her by being actually open to the idea of it. Meanwhile, the rest of the group is realizing that they're missing. So they go looking for them. So he kind of questions like, wow, you guys, and then when she mentions this, he thought he would get very upset. You're like, that's how you guys see me? But he's saying it'll be a good experience for her, and then he starts to, his fire making starts to work, and he starts to get a fire going. So he has a fire going so they can stay warm. And Ichiko that says, we can call off the dance if you, we can call off the dance together thing. But she says, but to do that, you have to give me my dance right now. To which he's like, well, no one's looking, so sure. She goes, you were embarrassed, weren't you? And he goes, well, yeah. And he goes, also this whole legend things. You know, she's while also keeping track of her heartbeat to make sure she's not, falling for him. And then he tells her about the legend that somehow she's missed everyone talking about so far, and that causes her to realize that's what's bothering Miku. Is Miku knows about the legend, and that she now realizes that she's taking that moment away from Miku, which does cause her to realize how important it was to Miku, and freaks out, and she bumps into the log that they put up against the wall. It causes it to fall. Futaro reacts and grabs her and pulls her away to safety. And then the heart starts a beating because now she is starting to fall for Futaro. So she realizes it and tries to scream free. The log comes down. It busts a hole in the door, which causes the alarm to start going off. Meanwhile, while they're both laying on the ground, then the fire sets off the sprinklers. So now they're getting soaked. And they're trying to figure out what they need to get the alarm turned off before they got what to do. And here someone opens the door, and it's Miku and Itsuki. Like, what are you guys doing? So then we got to the next morning. They wake up in bed. He's feeling kind of crummy. They mentioned how they both got yelled at by the teachers and got in a lot of trouble. And that Itsuki and Miko didn't fully buy their explanation and let them explain things. So now he's kind of bummed that the school camp trip is ending up terribly. You see Miku kind of worrying about if we are equal. So she right now thinks that everyone's equal. And then we see Ichika's sick in bed because she's... Apparently, they think she got sick from the being out in the cold and getting wet. Where Itsuki kind of gets on her case a little bit, saying it's all her fault. And then she brings up, she's like, you just don't want to face food. She tells you, go skiing. It's like, you're just trying to avoid Futaro. He's not a bad guy. And then also confesses that she realizes that it was her hanging over Futaro, and that is who Itsuki saw. Futaro apparently overhears this part and tries to like I need to go back to sleep. And then Yotsuba busts in and says, "Hey, you're going skiing." So he's kind of feeling crummy, but she pulls him out to go skiing anyways and says, "I'll teach you." We find out that Ichika's, she tells him that Ichika's sick and Itsuki's taking care of her. And Nina's already out on the slopes. And then Miko shows up. He doesn't, with their ski outfit on, he can't realize it's Miko until she shows herself. He gets close to look at her face to see if he can tell it's Miko, which causes her to back up and fall. He tries to help her up, and she refuses his help. And supposedly leading to that she's not a great skier as well. Then Ichika shows up. Sick and all, but she's like, hey, I'm well enough to do that. Itsuki's out skiing somewhere on her own. And they come up with playing tag with Yotsuba being it. So it's counting, so everybody starts taking off. And he wants to talk to Miku to try and explain things to Miku. But she now all of a sudden is good at skiing and takes off. As he's going down the hill, gaining some speed, Ichika comes up to him and asks, "Did you tell anybody about what happened about last night?" To which he thinks she's referring to her about her quitting school, and he goes, "No, of course not." It's like, how could I? So that means each. So he's like, how could I? And so she's like, so that means, and then he looks over and says, how do you stop? And realizes that he's going too fast and he doesn't know how to stop. To which causes Ichika to yell out, Yosiki-kan! As he runs down and you see him, he crashes into a tree, because that's what happens when you go skiing. You just crash into trees. But everyone's freaking out about him, but he gets upstairs that he's okay. And he kind of makes comment, Yosuke, you got to kind of cover the bases if you're going to teach somebody something. Like breaks. So as he's walking away, he's rubbing his head, which causes the Band-Aid to fall off. And sure enough, there's Nino that finds the Band-Aid and says, wait a minute, this is Kintaro's Band-Aid. Kintaro, is that you? He's got his hood up so you can't see him. So he freaks out and like, oh no. So he takes off running. And he goes around the corner and he spots Yotsuba. And she spots him, so he goes back around. So he's so he has nowhere to go. So he fight, but there's an igloo. He ends up crawling inside the igloo to hide from both of them. And lo and behold, that's where Miko is also hiding. So Helma and Miko start having a little conversation. So she kind of mentions that's cramped there, so he shouldn't move that much. So he offers to leave, and she stops him and says, "No, I want you to stay." And she covers up by, you might get caught if you go out there. And so they kind of talk about Yotsuba's super athleticism. They talk about, to make it fair, they should give her a handicap, make her carry a bunch of weights. To which Futaro says, no, that's not right. He goes, you are quintuplets, you are exactly the same. So the fact that she's excelled in is because she put effort into being more athletic, and we shouldn't penalize her for that. And so she got something she earned for herself. And he mentions, I don't want to disregard that effort. Anyone who does it wants that person, and she remembers that anybody who does it wants that, are you sure I can take him? So she starts thinking about that. We're equals. I should be his partner. You should be his partner. But then Futaro says, being equal is fine, but you can't ignore the work she put in. Let's be fair, not equal. And this is this is her learning more about relationships, so taking this to heart with her relationship thinking. She goes to stand up and she bumps her head. They get a little chuckle. Futaro kind of decides that he's going to leave and get some fresh air. Miku calls Ichika. And Ichika says she has a plan. And Ichika says, I just got, I'm out here skiing now. And she says, I think we should both hold his hands. He has two hands. Each one of us should hold one of his hands at the dance. Ichika coughs a little and doesn't make out what she kind of says. And Miko tells her, well, you should, go rest. To which we find out that So she doesn't hear. She says, "Never mind. Sorry, I still have a cough. You should." And she tells her she'd be staying inside, not skiing. And then she mentions that she just changed into her skiing clothes. If you're not paying attention, that's something you should be catching. But then, so Ichika tells her that you should. Then Futuro shows back up, and he kind of like tries to eavesdrop, getting close on the phone. She's like kind of got his ear up next to the phone that Miku's holding up to her, causing her to blush and freak out a little bit. He finds out, oh, Ichika, you're still sick, huh? So Ichika says she's going to head back and tells him to find Itsuki. So now we get the search for Itsuki begins. So that was her plan there, is that they both dance with Futuro at the campfire, and each one has one of his hands. And that's equal. Fair but equal. But they both should get that opportunity. So they start going everywhere looking for Itsuki, and then we realize that Futuro starts becoming overcome by his illness. And they start realizing that Futuro is sick, and he realizes that he has Raya's fever. And Miku starts to worry about him, and that's when Yotsuba shows up and tackles Miku into the snow, and they find out there's no one, and there's Nino and Ichika, and they realize they still haven't found Itsuki. So everyone starts freaking out. They're talking about calling in the rescue team. Meanwhile, Ichika is saying, we don't need to do that. We could find her. Just got to keep looking. And is acting weird. And Futaro, all sick and stuff, he's trying to figure something out because he goes, something doesn't feel right about it. And finally he remembers something that clicks to him. So he goes, well, all right, we'll go looking. Me and Ichika come with me. Meanwhile, he's still trying to do it while he's sick, and everybody is worrying about him a little bit. So they go. So him and Ichika get on the ski lift to go looking. Ichika notices that people are kind of getting romantic on the ski lift, so she's kind of starts to freak out about being up there with him. He points out, like, hey, is that her right down there? And she looks and goes, I don't think so. He goes, of course not. That's a guy. You can't see without your glasses on. So he reveals that he knows that it's Itsuki pretending to be Ichika. And he says he realized it when she called him by his name, but she called him by Usagi instead of, where Ichiki calls him Futuro. He goes, hey, it's like, there's some things he's like, I'm not great at telling you guys apart, but there are some things that I can use that help me out. We flash back and see her talking to Itsuki about Futuro, saying he's not a bad guy, but she's worried about when it comes to relationships, that nobody knows anything about him, and that they need to be selective when it comes to the men. And it's Ichika mentions that Itsuki still has somewhat of a thing for Futuro as well. She's just scared and reserved, and she convinces him that he's not our dad. Which, they have a little chat on the thing. Futuro ends up passing out onto her from his illness. So the girls all take him to the doctor, to take him to the hospital. So all the girls kind of feel bad about it because they kind of blame themselves for not realizing he was sick and all the stuff they were doing. They all kind of want to stay with him. Each kid blames herself, and then they kind of realize, I think he was sick from the very beginning, and we just never noticed it. So they all want to kind of stick with him. He says, no, just go do your thing. You don't have to worry about me. Or even Nino's like, we're worried about you. And the teacher kind of steps in and is like, yep, that's right. No one's allowed in. This is out of bounds for you guys. And so they all kind of mumble off. He stops Nino before she leaves to give her the message that Kintaro gave him a message that he had to leave and he won't be able to be there for the dance. Mikiko's worried about the school camp ending miserably for him, and she feels bad that's going to end badly. So he tells her that Kintaro couldn't make it, that he had to go, and then the teacher guy yells at him that he needs to get in a rest, and he goes, cheer up. So we see Nino at the fire, and she's all like mad about it, not having the dance part, but she's thinking about him, saying, you're the one, you're in bad shape, and how are you going to tell me to cheer up? And she kind of feels bad that in his situation that's that. So she says she has to go to the bathroom, and she walks off. We find that our Maeda guy is getting a dance with his girl. And we see Ichika sitting alone, and then Miku comes over and talks to her, comes over to have a little chat with her. Mentions that her, puts her face against hers and mentions that your fever's gone. And that's where she also confesses that he's weird from the beginning. I think he's been sick the whole time, and we didn't notice it. And she wishes they paid more attention. They were too busy paying attention to their own problems. It's where they have their heart to heart, where she says that, hey, how she's always preoccupied with how they got along with Futaro and everything like that, and she didn't think it was right for one of them to be special, but she's not playing by that game with that anymore. That she likes him, and she's going to do as she wishes. That Ichika and the others can do the same thing, but she's going to win. So we see our girl. She is headstrong. I mean, this is why Miku is best girl. She's headstrong. She's ready. She's going to go after what she wants. Then we cut to the other two girls. Itsuki's kind of blaming herself for keeping him out longer by pretending to be Ichika. Then she finds Yotsuba's all sad because she found his thing with all the things he wanted to do, and she's worried that she pushing him around and dragging him and stuff is what made him get sick, and that she caused him not to have a good time. But then Itsuki looks to the books, finds his notes of all the good stuff he said that he can't wait to tell Reina about, and points out, like, look, he did have a good time. Which causes Yotsuba, like, I need to know, I have to. So she runs off to go because she wants to sneak in and talk to him. So then we cut to the room. The teacher fell asleep in the room, and he gets woke up to come out, and we find that all the girls have snuck in the room with him. Because they're all. We see Itsuki's high. First, we see Itsuki, and she goes to turn on the light, and all 5 girls turn on the lights together, and they realize that they all went there at the same time. They all wanted to go see him because they were all concerned with him. Nina's excuse was, I wanted to give him this lucky charm. I was just coming to give him the lucky charms to bring him so he'll get better. It's like, that's all, that's just trying. That's it, nothing else. So whether Itsuki goes over, has a speech like, I want to know you. I want you to let us get to know you better. Please tell us about yourself more. Meanwhile, the campfire is the finale. They start doing their countdown, and as they're counting down, we see Itsuki grab his hand. And then it comes back to the fire as they count down to 2 and 1. And 0. So midnight is hit. The fireworks go off. At the moment, it appears Itsuki may be holding his hand at the time. Then we go to the future. And now we're back on the wedding day. And it's Reina preparing breakfast. She gets a call from Futaro that he forgot the ring. She gruffs about him, like, how could he do such a thing? She has an interaction with her father. And then she goes to take the ring to Futaro. And she's like amazed about how big the venue is and how it's like a castle. She finds 10 wedding dresses and she's freaking out. Like, how many times is she going to change her wedding dress? Why is there 10? I don't know. We will find out the reason why there's more than one later on. But there's 10 wedding dresses. And she's the bride getting her hair done. Then she finds Futaro sleeping at a desk. And she starts to kind of like, oh my God, putting him down a little bit. She can't believe this is how he's acting and stuff like that. And she realizes he's wearing her good luck charm. And you're like, oh my God, he still has my good luck charm. Then we cut to his entrance to the wedding. He runs into Maeda, who is now married to his pregnant girlfriend that he met at the camp. They talk about the legend, how they met and how they danced and they were holding hands. And he goes, you know, come to think of it, I'm pretty sure that's how these two met too. That's what happened with these two too. That they were holding hands for the campfire legend. We find Futaro has a thing back that he can't quite remember the incidents of that night. Then the bride comes in. And we cut back to the campfire to find that each girl had come over and grabbed one of his fingers. So everybody was holding his hand at the same time as the midnight hit. So all the girls are still in play. So the Alchemy gave a little speech. He groggily wakes up and yells at them to get out so he can sleep. The girls all laugh and take off running. We go back to the wedding. And where he says, he can finally say what he couldn't say back then. Thanks for being by my side. Then we cut back to him out of the hospital, reading over his old notes, saying that we get a little tidbit of the first step is always the hardest. And then all the girls show up and meet him and say, happy to see that he's feeling better and out of the hospital. Nino kind of comments about you can hold on to my good luck charm for now. So they have a little talk, and then he goes right back into it's time to study mode, and all the girls take off running as their first season comes to an end. You're kind of give him a little pep talk. And that's how the season ends. So, boom. We've gotten through the first season. And God knows how long this video is. Where are we at now? Good God, this was even longer. All right. Well, I was trying to find better ways of condensing the seasons down because these are long as shit. So there's the whole review of. There was a lot to cover. So at the end of season 1, we know Miku is crushing hard on Futaro, and she is down, and is pretty much come out and told one of her sisters. So she has pretty much confessed it to one of her sisters, and just told her pretty much that, you know, I'm going all in. You guys can go after him too, but I'm going to win. We know that Ichika has started to develop feelings. There's hints that Itsuki has subtle feelings, and these two at the moment have not really given any real indication of having any romantic interest in him. I mean, she's still kind of getting over. She's starting to warm up. She's warming up to him a little bit there, even though, you know, she still kind of sees him as a nemesis. And our boy, of course, is completely clueless to everything because he's still just focused on studying. And he's not really opening up about them that he just enjoys time with them and he views them as friends. To him, that's still just a study group. And he was more worried about them getting mad at him that it would affect their studying. So the boy's, he's kind of a ditz. He's dense, so we'll say that about him. But we do get to see him open up and, in his own way, have fun, even if he doesn't openly admit it. So that's where we'll pick up on season 2, and I'll do my best to see if we can. I'll try and condense it better, because this is longer than the first video, way longer. So I'll work on. There's so much. This is a show I can talk about because I really like this. This show is really good. I really liked it. So until we get to part 3, Cachorro signing out.